Oh, yes, there is.
I bet Zoom has gotten themselves in trouble or something. Now tell everyone we're recording.
So, we'll leave it to the image person to know that one. So with strategy, there's the purpose. Everyone kind of knows what that means, right? Why are you sending the email? You need to create some sort of value. If there's no value, think of one before you send it. We want to honor and respect people's inboxes, even though maybe we don't always feel that way by other emails we get. The more we respect the person who's receiving it, they can tell those things. So an idea would be, obviously a blog post, a helpful tip related to your business. If you have a sale, some sort of a new app, a new product, make an appointment. There's always something that you can give that will create value. Oops. Audience. So we all have an audience. If you haven't really thought about who your audience is, you're probably not here. You all seem quite bright. You all have your own businesses or initiatives. You've got some sort of audience in mind. And so we want to think about who your brand is built for, whose life is going to be made better because of your products or services. Some common ones here are gender. That's not always important to every business. And obviously there's a lot that goes into gender these days and a lot to think about. So you'll know if this is an important factor to you or not. For my business and for Britton, gender isn't a huge influence, but for some of our clients, gender is something that they care about. Income, education, age, location, occupation. I believe interests is just, interests is on the other side. Marital status, habits, hobbies, values. What else could relate to your business? One of the things Britton has been studying is this thing we call the New American Middle, which is a spin in a way on Middle America. And one of the things that the New American Middle really cares about is values. And so that's something that more and more people are starting to put more focus on in terms of brands. And so letting your values as a brand be known is something that's going to be increasingly important. There was this survey that was done to say, well, what are some of the most important audience demographics or audience information that you record? Obviously name, everyone records a name. Postal address and mobile phone are kind of pretty even. It depends on, are you going to send direct mail? Does a physical address actually matter to you? There's always other opportunities to capture some of this information. Like if there is, sorry. Well, there we go. If you're going to be making any kind of sale, like Melissa has her damn cards, she could, she just has those damn cards. It's a pretty great name, I'm not gonna lie. So she's got these cards, and whenever she makes an online order, she's gonna capture their address if she's gonna mail them their product. So there's other opportunities that you can capture all of this. Capture it all when they send your email. IP address is something that you guys probably aren't going to care about, but more businesses that the advertising field, they do pay attention to IP addresses and media. Location, browsing history, that's one that tap into. That's really great for retargeting, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then there's some other things. And of course, your business is going to have more or different factors that you will care about. Another thing with audience is segmentation. So since, is it Teresa or Tessa? Tessa. I recognize you. Like, oh, I can't remember. Since she works at Act, she's going to know segmentation. You know, you're going to want to divide your audience up into different pieces, and sometimes they'll be in multiple segments. You might have someone who, let's say you have a floral business. You might have someone who's interested in DIY, and you might have someone who is interested in having it done for them. So thinking about the different segments that way, but also by demographic, by purchase type, when they last purchased, have they never purchased, what's their site history, how engaged they are with emails. And then within an email sequence, there are other ways you can segment. So this is a little bit of a rabbit hole in terms of segmentation. When you set up your email campaign, you can have automation, which is highly recommended. And this automation can send different responses based on if people have opened your email, if they have clicked on a link but didn't add anything to their cart, if they added things to their cart. So segmentation in your sent emails is another really great way to get your audience to purchase. How do you do that? Well, so any of your email marketing tools are going to have automation campaigns that you can set up. And they're usually pretty easy in terms of they walk you through, like, if this person opens this, send them this email in 2 days. If they don't open this, send this one in 3 days. And you can adjust different days and the different, the cadence, and then you can create, subsequent messages. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And we'll talk about some of those tools in a little bit, but any quality email program is going to have those. And a lot of times, I believe Mailchimp, which is what we use at Britton and I use for the Andrew project, although I've yet to send an email campaign, which is slightly ironic. No joking. One of the things that they have is templates for those kinds of things. And so they'll have like recommended paths that your people can follow if they open or don't open an email.
And I know Mailchimp, I don't know many of the others, but if you want help setting up automation, I used it for Britton, so I can help. Yes, great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tired.
So and we'll talk about some like 5 popular email programs in a little bit. I have some tools that will be helpful. Another thing that you want to think about before you even begun to write your email is your goals and your metrics. What are you hoping people do when they receive your email? Do you want them to buy something? Do you want them to just open it and read it? Do you want them to open, read, click? Do you want appointments? That is going to fuel your purpose. That's going to fuel your content that you're going to write. And so it's pretty important. Another thing is your key performance indicators, your KPIs. How do you know it's even working? You can have your goals, but your KPIs are going to tell you, yes, this is working, or no, this is not working. Some pretty common KPIs, and definitely one that you want to think about, are your open rate, how many people or how many times the email has been opened. Click rate, which is how many times an individual will open your email and then click a link. Your click to open, which honest was one that I hadn't really paid much attention to, but that's how many people open and click links and continue on to. Or reply rate, which is obviously how many times people reply to you, and sometimes you're not going to care about that. And then your conversion rate, how many times people have actually made a sale based on sale, appointment, whatever your goal is, based on there's always industry benchmarks. So you're all going to have some sort of a benchmark in terms of good rates. So Campaign Monitor is a really great resource website for any kind of email campaign that you might be doing. And they have these benchmarks here. And these change from time to time. This is the most recent one I could find. But if you're curious, or if yours isn't listed here, just email open rate benchmarks for photography businesses or stationery companies. That might be a little too specific, but you'll be able to get there eventually. Like consumer packaged goods, for example, right here, 20% open rate, a 1.9 click-through rate, which sounds really low, but it's actually a pretty good rate. Click to open rate, 11.1, and then unsubscribe rate, which generally is about 0.1 to 0.3 based on all these different industries.
So begin with that. If we're looking at those stats.
Yeah.
And say I'm in financial services and my emails that I'm writing are, my open rate is like 10%.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That means that, I'm glad you asked, Leslie Hill. That just means that you really want to pay attention to your subject line and your snippet, which I'll show you in a second. We all know what a subject line is, but a snippet, I didn't know that's what it was called, is when you're looking at your email inbox and you see your headline and there's like a little blurb of copy there. Sometimes it's a line, sometimes it's a paragraph, depending on your settings, and that's the snippet. And so you want to look at those two things and see how you might be able to improve those. Another thing is if people are engaging with your content, like say you have a low open rate, but your click-through rates are really great. That's also another indicator that you need to work on your subject lines. And I found some really great tools to help you test those subject lines before you actually send those emails. A thing that a lot of people do when they're trying to figure out what's working with their audience is A/B testing. And any good email program like Mailchimp, Constant Contact, they're going to have that capability of A/B testing where you can put in two different subject lines and see which one is read more or which one is engaged with more. So those are all things that you're going to want to think about when you are working on your email. Timing and frequency, this is one that a lot of people are unsure, like how frequently should I send an email? I get 10 emails a day from Sephora, but this other company like Macy's, maybe I only get 2 emails a day. That's pretty excessive. How many do I send? I'm a startup, or there are a lot of variables. And I want to say go with your gut, but sometimes you actually need a little bit more information. And then if it seems like that just doesn't feel right for my company, test it out. That is never a bad idea with email. Depending on the size of your list, you're going to have to test a little bit longer than you maybe want to sometimes, but that's never a bad idea. So one benchmark that I found is that in terms of frequency, if you have less than 100 subscribers, sending 1 to 2 emails a month is okay. If you have 100 to 1,000, they say 1 time a week is great. 1 to 5,000, 2 times a week, 5 to 10,000, 3 times a week, 10,000 and over daily. And I know we can all think of some of our favorite brands who definitely send more than 1 email a day, and they definitely have over 10,000 subscribers. But it's a pretty good guide, and then you can see, you can test it out and see, well, if I send an extra email this week, will people read it? Does it get noticed? And again, you're going to have to test it for more than a week to see if that works. You probably want to try it for a few months and see how that goes. In terms of content, this benchmark that I found said that blogs, you could share 1 to 2 times a month. If that's the only thing you have, it's okay to share it a little bit more. I know that's my big thing right now is I just have blogs as I'm still creating my product. Coupons and offers, they say you can do that in each email. I know one of the things Leslie wanted me to kind of talk about was how often do you sell in an email versus not sell. And in every email, you can create some call to action. It doesn't have to be super obvious, but you should include some sort of a super obvious thing from time to time. The product features and news, you can do that in each email, and events as needed. So really, it's whatever's going to serve your business the best if you think about it. 7th Sense is another really good research company that has focused on emails and marketing, and they found that of the people they surveyed, 26.7% people sent emails multiple times a month, and 33.3% sent them weekly. Now, we don't know the sizes of their business. We don't know what their business models are, what their verticals are, but it's just another good kind of benchmark for you guys to look at. Yes. Ask away.
So do you think, and I know they're probably say it just depends on the customer and the industry, I feel like I get more emails from product-based businesses than I do from service-based businesses.
Mhm.
But I personally, I like to open the ones that are service-based more because they can be almost like coaching in an email.
Yeah.
Do you see any difference in that?
I think that there are just more product-based businesses that we subscribe to. I think people put more value in the service-based emails, I think, as well, because they're giving you something that you can grow with, that you can think about. It's something you're interested in. It's like a little self-help snippet in your inbox. And we all want to be better people, hopefully. So we're going to pay attention to those. I think we're also just more likely to open those because we know we're not going to be sold to as heavily, and that's fine. Those service-based businesses, those still need to make appointments. And so it's perfectly acceptable and expected that you would put some sort of call to action, like, if this makes sense, set up an appointment. I have a number of those kinds of emails, and there's always some sort of a call to action in it. And sometimes it feels kind of icky if you have a service-based business to be like, buy now, but you're not saying buy now. You're like, hey, let me help you. And people are always going to appreciate that effort. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I just.
You didn't act so sure.
When you're talking about the 10,000
Yeah.
subscribers or more, hey, I want a bathing suit from you.
Yeah.
I gotta buy one again.
Yeah.
And yet they're the ones that I love me some daily horoscopes and I want to read them. They're just real short and it's going to tell me about the day. So I tend to coach clients, even if it's a product-based business, to give them more meat rather than just sending like beer prepping.
Yeah.
Like, rather than just sending, oh, look, here's our new piece.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are you going? Where are you going to take this? Tell me the story. And I honestly, because that's how I operate, but I don't know if I'm like telling people.
No, like one of the when we're talking about email and how important it is, it's another form of content. And whether you have a business that is selling products or you're scheduling services, you still have to give them something that helps enhance their lives or helps them feel like they've been, I can't think of the word. It helps them feel like they have been given something to enhance their lives, regardless of if you're selling purses or not. So maybe it's a fashion tip. Well, that would help enhance their lives. If, like Christine has her photography company, well, maybe it's here's how you pose the best when you're having your photo taken, or that's a really big thing to put in, but maybe it's, a little bit of a style tip, or, when you smile, open your mouth a little. I don't know if that's a good tip or not. So don't follow that. But I'm just saying. Yeah, exactly. So there's always something that you can put in that is going to benefit the customer, whether they're going to buy something from you or not. It's always a good idea to respect their time. And if you're just getting sales emails all the time with nothing to kind of build up a relationship, it's not really, none of you guys want to do that anyway.
Don't you think if with a smaller business too, you'll get an immediate reputation of you do it too much? that you're gonna waste their time if they open you up, but if you're really strategic in how often and the content, that they're gonna go, oh, last time I opened it, it was really good, as opposed to, I get so many of like, oh, I want to stay in contact, but stop talking to me so much. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes me nuts. So when I see it, I'm like, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
They're going to give me too much. And so I just delete, but yet I don't want to let them go.
Yeah.
We're here.
I know I have either.
In a lot of ways, the golden rule applies in email, right? So treat others how you want to be treated. If you don't want to be sold to constantly with a stream of products, then don't do that to your customers. I mean, that's just good sense no matter what. Yeah.
A trend that I've been seeing, if you compare that arena, is the email addresses of people. People are trying creative means of catching your attention, and some of the addresses are super long because it's the name of their organization along with their name. Others are using only their first names. And I know multiple people with that name, like Chris, so that doesn't help me to prioritize the emails. The other thing is when I like to search for emails. I do that a lot. And if I don't have something really concrete in the subject line, I don't really want to search a whole body of the email. But if there's something in the subject line that gives me a keyword that when I search later, it's definitely going to come up for me. So are all those key things that you should include in your email newsletters as well?
Yeah, and I have some tools to help you exactly test out those subject lines. If you always want it to be searchable. And so one thing we're going to talk about with your text to image ratios is using an email that's just images isn't going to help you because people want to search and they want to be able to find things. You can't search what's in an image. It's kind of impossible. So
the email address, for that too. Like, I don't know if I want more than one email address. Right now, it's just my name.
yeah.
It doesn't come through as my business name. So
I didn't put in here about email addresses, so we can talk about that real quick. One of the stats that's in here in a little bit is about when people are looking through their email inboxes, they look at the recipient or the sender first, and if they don't recognize it, they're really likely to delete it. So that's why some people make those email addresses so obnoxiously long, because they're like, wait, it's really important and I want you to get this. So this is all my information in my email address. And that's not helpful because people see right through it and they're like, yep, you're just trying to sell to me. I'm going to delete it. So you're going to want different email addresses if you have your own business versus your personal email address. That's a pretty good practice. Specifically because you just don't want all of that mixing together. And if someone emails your business and they have a question, you don't want it to get lost in all the other stuff. And you don't want to think it's a spam message. You want to be able to get that. So for my own use, like I have my personal email address at Britton. I have 3 email addresses. One is my normal email address that I use when I'm emailing my clients. Another one is for prospecting because it is just letting me track it a little bit differently. I use Mailchimp for my prospecting. And so I have a different email address there and it just helps me track it a little bit differently. That's really the reason why I have different ones at Britton. I'm not sure at the end of the day how critical those two are. It was just how we decided to segment it. But you always want to keep your personal emails and your business emails separate. And for the business, you obviously are going to want it to be from whatever your business name is. So people can use those as clues as well. Does that help? Okay. Great. Another way that people are segmenting audiences that ties into the timing is if people aren't engaging with your emails, it seems kind of counterintuitive, but they're sending them emails less frequently because it might feel like they're being a pest and they don't want to be a pest. So they'll start to send them emails less frequently. I thought that was kind of counterintuitive, but if you think about it, they're just trying to honor the person's email box. They're not trying to be resented for sending all of this junk. And so this is something people are starting to do. We don't do this at Britton yet. We have a small email list, but we also we don't send cold emails to a lot of people regularly. For our regular email list, we might start kind of sending them a few less emails, but this is a newer practice right here. In terms of day of the week, we get asked this by our clients all the time. What is the best day of the week to send an email? And we tried not to send emails on Monday and Friday. It's just people are getting into the office and they're starting to go through their emails, and Monday and Friday, we're more likely to be left to the side because they're paying attention to those that are more important. That is a business to business though. It's a lot of businesses right there. If you are a consumer-based business, you're going to find that people send emails based on when their sales are, or you're going to want to test this out for what makes sense for your business. This is just average benchmarks for what works best. Typically, you'll see that through the week, they say Monday is actually a pretty good day. Maybe it's people getting into the office and trying to avoid the work. We haven't found that for our clients, but it could certainly be the case for others. That day and Wednesday seem to have a better click-through rate. Click-to-open rates are kind of better on Tuesday through Thursday, and then your unsubscribe rate is pretty even. But when you test this out in your email program, it's going to tell you, these days are great. These days aren't so great. Here's where you're losing more subscribers. And so, maybe start with something that's in the middle of the week, test it out. If you have social media, your social media is also going to tell you when your audience is online the most. And so pay attention to that and see if you can tap into those times as well. I know Facebook will tell you exactly, your audience is online more on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. So maybe try to send your emails around then as well, because maybe they need a break at that time of the day. This will be different for everyone's business, but because this is a really personal metric for you, but these are some great places to start from. Once you test it out, then you'd be able to see, okay, well, my best day with my highest email open rates is Monday. My best days for click-through rates and click-to-open rates is Tuesday, though. So I'm going to start with Tuesday and then try to figure out your best time from there. It seems like first thing in the morning, lunchtime, and evening, those are generally have been some pretty good times that we've seen for our customers and clients and their customers. But you'll want to test it out because there may be something that works even better for you. So getting read. There are obviously some things that we want to pay attention to in terms of getting read. So one of the things Leslie asked about earlier, a low open rate, but people are engaging with the content. Check your subject line. People aren't opening my emails. Check my subject line, check your snippet. I thought this was really interesting from CoSchedule. CoSchedule has a really great tool I'm going to show you in a little bit. That's a subject line tester. And they have a lot of tools as well for sending emails, programming. They have a free marketing calendar. So there's some really great tools that they have. But they found that, 35% of recipients open emails based on subject lines alone. 69% report emails as spam based on subject lines alone. And 43% of recipients click the spam button based on the email from name or email address. So that's why you want to be pretty clear with your email address, your from. You don't want it to seem spammy. You want to be pretty like, hi, I'm Melissa from Melissa's Damn Cards. And you want to pay attention to that subject line. I know when I'm think about how you go through your email addresses or your emails. I always look at the from, and then I'll look at my subject line. And if I don't know the from, I'm highly likely to just delete it right away. Since it is a permission-based tool, when people are receiving your emails, they have made, since you're building your businesses, they have made the conscious effort to sign up for your email addresses. So they're going to recognize your emails. This is going to be more problematic if you start buying email lists. Then people might not be so familiar with your business name. So one of the main things with subject lines is you want to make them curious so they open it. Neil Patel is a New York Times bestselling author. He's known as like a top 10 marketer, a bunch of other things with his name if you're curious. He's written books, obviously, if he's a New York best-selling author. But he's a pretty wise guy. So he's got 10 types of subject lines that will generate clicks. And I thought this was too good of a list to not include. So you want to generate curiosity. That's always important. You want to communicate urgency or scarcity. And I should say, don't fit all 10 of these in one subject line. It's going to be pretty impossible, but it's also just going to be a mess. So if you can like pick a couple or just make them curious, curiosity is always going to work in your favor. Free offers, subjects that are personalized. When I'm doing my prospecting for Britton, I make my subject lines personalized because I'm sending them in small batches. Now, if you're sending an email and it's not to one person or two people, making it personalized is going to look differently for you, but you can still do it. So think about why people have signed up for your business. Why do they want to hear from you? And talk about that in your subject line. So like for Christine, for example, a subject line for her might be, are you curious about the best lighting, or things that maybe her audience is interested in? Those are the things that will be personalized. Another way is just a simple auto field when they open the email. Hi, Melissa. That helps a lot as well. And make sure if you're going to do that, you test it out so that it doesn't, like my last name, my married last name is Gross. Well, I've had people use that autofield incorrectly. It says, hi, Gross. And I'm like, that is not helpful right now. Thank you very much. Especially when I am not feeling my best, that is a backfire. So you want to make sure that it works because some people don't mind being called by their last name, but in my case, it does not work in their favor. Highlight recent events. So if you are hosting an event or even beyond that, a news event, there's this one can be tricky. You don't want to hijack the news, is what they say. There was an example that my dad likes to use where there was a fashion brand and it was Kurt Cobain, the anniversary of Kurt Cobain's death. And they decided they were going to tap right into that. And that was not appropriate for them because they were a women's fashion brand and they had nothing to do with Kurt Cobain anyway. And in fact, he would have been like, seriously, this is like, so you want to make sure that if you're tapping into the news, you have a reason to do so. Maybe your products are made in Ukraine. Well, that would be a perfectly appropriate reason to tap into the Ukrainian news that's going out there. If you're a Black-owned business, that is a perfect opportunity. If you are creating, irreverent cards and it's a especially tense moment, like you can find ways to break that tension. So that is another great use. Communicates social proof of concept. So this is basically saying, hey, there's only 10 cards left because everyone has bought my product. Showing that other people think that your product is worthwhile is another great way. Emotional connection is never a bad thing. We had a client come to us that wasn't a client yet, and they were a B2B company, and they wanted to insert emotion into their marketing. And it was not a company that we ever thought would want to use emotion. And so this has been increasing in that people want to tap into the humanity, regardless of the business. And so using emotion in a positive way is good. Trying to build that emotional connection with stories is always a good thing too. Retargeting. So when people go on your website, if they add something to your cart, retarget them by sending them an email saying, hey, you left this in your cart, or this is a great product. You guys have been retargeted all the time and you can recognize that. Also, if people have opened your email, but they didn't click a link, you can retarget them. You could send them actually, I think I forgot to say this in the other section, but you can, maybe it's coming up. We'll just burst it right now because I can't remember if it's coming up or not. One of the things that you can do is if people have received your email, and they didn't open it, that subject line, you could resend them that exact same email and just change the subject line and see if maybe that's the only thing that really was tripping them up. That's a good good trick because they didn't open it. They don't know.
I know that some of our clients, if they're product-based businesses, use Shopify. And the great part about that is they will automatically send emails like, hey, this is in your cart. So nice.
Yeah, some of those shopping tools, like Shopify, is a great tool in that regard for sure. Not every website does that. I have Wix for mine, and I have to set those up. But Shopify is a little bit more advanced in that regard.
I had something in the cart. I don't need any more of those. You know, and they texted me.
Yeah.
You know. Black Friday's always coming up, so.
That's true. Another thing that will generate clicks is announcements and events. That's obviously something that's going to be important. And then, although it is hidden at the bottom, sharing your authority and expertise. That is something that you all have. If you have your own business, you've got authority, and you've got some sort of expertise. So helping them, making them read on. So once they get past that first hurdle of the all-important subject line, how do you keep them reading? So the snippet and the opening line or two are going to help them keep reading. Now you've already kind of, won the first war, which is you got them to open the email based on your subject line. That's a huge win. But they're going to read their subject line and they're going to read the snippet. And if the snippet doesn't speak to them, they're going to delete it and move on. So the snippet, if you think about your email inbox, you've got your subject line, you've got this little snippet, and sometimes the snippet is going to actually show more than the subject line. Your subject line will get truncated where it gets cut off and there's ... The snippet will do that as well, but sometimes the snippet copy is a little bit smaller, it's not bold, so it'll actually say more. And that isn't as powerful as a subject line, but it is going to entice them even more to open. Think of it like an intro to a book. You want them to keep reading. So if you open your book and the first couple of sentences just don't grab you, you're going to stop reading. It's the same with an email. Get to the point. I know I have this problem because I like to build up to my point. I'm trying to tell them all of the reasons why what I'm going to tell them is the best thing they need to know. And really, I just need to tell them what they need to know right away and then tell them why they needed to know that and why they need to care. That's going to help your snippet, but that's also going to at least get the message in, because if they only read the first 3 sentences, you made your point with that opening right there. these are an example of my email inbox. So I have the dark mode on my Outbacks. That's why it's black and gross. But so I subscribe to this Compel training. It's a writing group for women. And you can see I called out the snippet there. You obviously see the from is Compel training, the subject. You ever feel like you're in a writing rut, or Compel blog? I left both of these unread for about 2 weeks. The first one, yes, I'm in a writing rut, but I don't want to hear about it right now because I don't have the time to think about it. So I left it unread because I knew that when I wanted to get out of this rut, they might be able to help me. The blog, if you're wondering, that was not helpful at all to me in the slightest. But this little paragraph down below, that's from the training blog. And it actually got me to read the email. Walking into the convention center, a wave of self-doubt crashed into me. What was I doing at She Speaks? I wasn't a published author. I was just a writer with a few published blog posts. That spoke to me, and so I kept reading. But I wasn't going to read that email. Their little snippet didn't tell me a single thing about it. I didn't have time to just read a blog post. If they had changed that snippet to actually be a little bit more personalized, so I knew what was in that email, I would have read it a lot sooner. In fact, I only read these 2 emails when I was preparing for this because I thought, well, what is in these? Because I didn't read them. This is a great opportunity to figure out what they did and what they did wrong. And then the writing route was exactly what I thought, and it wasn't actually helpful to me, but it's also because I didn't have time to actually get out of the rut. So text to image ratio. This is something Leslie wanted to make sure we talked about. And we have this, there used to be this tendency to be afraid that images or videos would just toss you in spam, or that's kind of gone to the wayside. Emails need to include images, video, actually. I found a really interesting statistic that I'll show in a second. But you do need to have some sort of visual and copy. The ratio right now, there's generally a 60 to 40 rule. So no more than 40% of your email should be images, with a minimum of 60% being text. And then emails need to have more than 500 characters. If they have less than 500 characters, there's a high likelihood that they'll go to spam because they think it's just junk. If there's more than 500 characters, you're going to be fine, although it might not be read all the way. In terms of length of an email, just say what you need to say, leaving them hungry to click a link and go to the website. That call to action is going to be important. Don't send emails that are just photos. That a lot of brands have done this for a while, and it's hard to search. If you think about your own inbox, emails don't come preloaded. You've got to download the images because they don't know if it's questionable content. They don't know if you want to see what's there. And so if your email is just images, they're going to open it and it's just going to be blank box after blank box. And so they'd have to click that download image. And sometimes they don't know if they care enough to do that. So they might just skip it. Don't forget about mobile. A lot of photos can make an email boring in mobile if they're just scrolling, or it doesn't even format right. In fact, those 2 Compel emails that I just showed you, one of them had this giant image, and when I looked at it on my phone, it wouldn't even load. I had to like scroll sideways. And so you want to think about imagery in mobile format because a lot of people read email on mobile. Video can lead to a 6% open rate, which I thought was pretty surprising, especially since you can't tell if there's video inside of there. It seems counterintuitive, but that is the thing. I don't understand how that would be when they don't actually know there's a video inside of there. So it's worth testing out.
You know, I've tried video because I create content, obviously, and I don't think I've ever had any great success with anyone clicking the video.
Yeah.
Like, why did I do that? So it's interesting to see. Well, obviously they opened it, but they opened it and then didn't watch the video. And I only do like 30 seconds. I never.
Yeah. You don't want the trick would be Ooh. The trick will be making sure that doesn't happen again. The trick is that so video in the email is what's going to work. Having them click to watch a video, you won't always get people to do that. But if you can, that little 30-second video, you can stream it within your email, and that will work great. A lot of email programs will have some sort of a template that will let you set up an email pretty easily that has video in it, and then you can copy that and put it in your own template if you want to. We have a prospect right now that's talking to us, and they have this fancy kind of sheet. And it's hard to show in photo what this sheet does. But a video helps you understand it a lot easier, a lot quicker, and people get it a lot sooner. And so there are a lot of ways that video can be really advantageous. It should be under 2 minutes in an email and 1 megabyte. I think 2 minutes is a little long for an email, but use your best judgment there. So this was an example of an email that I got from my darling mortgage company, which I had been waiting for this email because taxes just came out for property taxes, and I knew that our escrow was going to be short because property right now. And I was like, okay, here's my email. And they put this darling bit of information in a video. And that was the only way I could actually get this information. And while I resented the fact that they put it in a video, it also got me to watch the video. And I was like, you know what? That was a charming little video. Thank you for telling me my payment's going up. So I'm still annoyed about it, but also was like, dang it, that was really smart. And so you can get them that way. I'm still, yeah, they were like, your escrow is going up and you're going to be happy about it. You're right, I am, because this is a charming little video, dang it. And I'm still mad about it. Oh, it made it a little easier to swallow, but I was like, son of a gun. I knew it was coming. Okay, so here are some tools to use, which is going to really help you write that email. The best tool is one that's going to be easy for you to use. Some of them are more intuitive than others, and it really depends on you. Look for one that has templates, reporting, automation. Mailchimp is one of the leaders and the most common. I think it's because it's got an adorable name with a little monkey. That's why I chose Mailchimp. I'm not gonna lie. I had a client who used Constant Contact, and I was like, that is the senior citizen of email programs. And that might be offensive because it's not true. They are a perfectly fine company. They just didn't have a monkey. But to be fair, Mailchimp has so many bells and whistles. You can create landing pages. There's automation. There's a lot of really great tools. Campaign Monitor also has a lot of the same things that Mailchimp has. They also have a free marketing calendar, which might be helpful for you. Constant Contact is one of the top 5 as well. I did a little research about what are the best email programs to use, and these 5 were in just about every list. There are others that'll be in here based on what you look at, but these 5 are pretty consistent. I had never heard of Sendinblue, but the reason that I included them here was because they also have texting capabilities and yeah, texting capabilities. I thought there was another thing, but there's the same. Mailchimp doesn't have texting yet. So maybe texting is something that you really care about. Maybe Melissa's damn cards wants to send a damn text every once in a while, just to brighten their inbox.
This just gave her an idea of Melissa's damn text. New product line.
And so, you know, maybe Sendinblue is something that she would want to look into. Email Octopus is supposed to be known for being really intuitive. And I believe Email Octopus was the one that they said was really great for small businesses because it was intuitive. There's all the things that you need without a lot of extra stuff to throw you off. Any one of these are going to have automation campaigns. They're going to have templates. They're going to have a lot of things that'll help you, and they're all going to be pretty intuitive. So images, other than Christine, and maybe Tessa with floral, I think it's Laura Stein Gardens, right? They did our yard, it's lovely. You know, they might have photos that they are going to have just from the nature of their business. But if you don't have photos, there are some really great free tools. Unsplash, Pexels, Pixabay, these are all free. They all have free royalty-free imagery. Unsplash is my favorite just because some of the photos are a little moodier and more emotional. And moody, not meaning dark, but like they explain some emotion there. They also have some Pexels images on their site. Depending on the website that you have, sometime, like I have a Wix website, like I said, and Unsplash, Pexels, and Pixabay, I can get all of those through my website interface. So you could look through your website interface as well, and they might have some imagery in there, but these are the top 3 free ones. Fee-based, Britton uses Shutterstock and iStock. There are different packages you can buy for credits. That'll give you some better rates. You're not going to be buying enhanced licenses most likely, which is when they start to get expensive. Usually they're fairly reasonable. Getty Images owns iStock, but Getty has this huge database of imagery. And if you think about, you know, the Met Gala was a few weeks ago, and that little Getty imagery tag that you might have seen on some photos, they're kind of the leader there. So I sent some prospecting emails, and my prospect was actually Lazy Boy. And I had the subject line of my grandpa's Lazy Boy. And I was like, I'm going to send this to Lazy Boy's CMO, and I'm going to see if it works. He did not reply, but some of the other people that I had emailed at Lazy Boy did. And so that was a subject line that actually worked, and they're actually one of our clients now. So if you can make it somewhat humorous, create curiosity, this definitely did that for them. There are some subject line testers, and I ran my grandpa's Lazy Boy through them, and CoSchedule actually like rated it and gave me some tips, but context is kind of lost on these subject line testers. So if you're going to do something like my grandpa's Lazy Boy, it may not work. But if it's going to be more, you know, tailored to a business and obviously not so stupid, then it'll probably work better. So coschedule.com, email subject line grader, and subjectline.com all have really great tools and really great information that they'll give you based on your subject line. There are a number of subject line graders out there, and some of them are a little easier to use than others. And these were the 3 that I found were quite a bit easier. Yeah.
So when you're prospecting Lazy Boy, did you create the content in Mailchimp and send it to those people through Mailchimp?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even if you're sending an email like 4 or 5 people, you do that?
Yeah. So you can send emails just one-offs. If you have a template in there, you can just go in and send it one at a time, or you can send it a whole list at a time. We have some convoluted system in the background where I can write my own subject line, my own opening paragraph, and it sends it over to Mailchimp. But you can just go into Mailchimp and do that. You can, if you have your template, you can copy it, duplicate it, and then just alter it and update it for that person if you just want to send one. Yeah.
And you do that instead of just sending a personal email?
Yeah, the reason, so I did this a number of different ways. I tested out, if I just sent them from Outlook, if I just sent them a prospecting email and it had links, I didn't put a lot of imagery in there because Outlook didn't let me format it the way I wanted to. And we're overly picky about how things look. I was able to get quite a few responses. If I sent it in Mailchimp, it let me format it exactly how I wanted it to, and I could track it, and I could see, well, did they open it? Where did they click? What's working, what's not? So that's the benefit of sending it, taking the extra steps to send it through Mailchimp or another email program versus Outlook. Outlook doesn't really. Well, that was my concern as well, because it would obviously look polished and it would look like a spam email. And at the end of the day, they kind of evened out. I didn't get better responses one way or another. They were pretty even. And so I think it really depended on the subject line, the little snippet, because that got them to open it. And then I think they would see the content and they would kind of forgive the fact that it was a fully formatted email because the photos were so pretty. People like pretty photos. It's true. Grammar and proofing. So I'm not great on grammar. I wish that I was a lot better. One of the tools that I use every day is Grammarly. I can type it in Grammarly if I want to. They have little places that you can do that and you can save it, kind of like a database of all the things you've written. But it really looks for spelling and grammar and a little bit of readability. You can set like filters that'll set your tone. Like I want this to appear informal and friendly, but knowledgeable. And it will say, yes, this is all these things. They have a free tool and it doesn't give you all of the insights, but it'll give you grammar and spelling. And it'll say there's an issue with this punctuation. And so you can play around with it. Hemingway is an app that I haven't used a whole lot, but is a great tool. It helps with readability. So it doesn't give you spelling and grammar, but it gives you readability. So it'll say, this is written at a 6th grade level, or this sentence is a little difficult to read. You might want to revise it. So these are two tools that even writers that are just professional writers, they use them regularly.
What grade level should you read?
You know, that is a very good question. I think that's a very excellent question. I don't know that answer.
Until 8th grade.
8th grade? That's a good one.
Anne Marie is a content writer for programs in the healthcare industry. She says in what, 6th.
Well, for healthcare,
Wouldn't that
yes.
depend on your audience though? If you know who your audience is, would you target their education level or do you?
If you have some idea, I mean, if you're going to be writing only to PhDs, then you could certainly use all the big words you want. I think it's never, one of the things that we try to remember is never underestimate the intelligence of your audience. People are not as smart as we think they are. And so it's never going to offend them if you use just everyday language, but it might offend them if you use words that are a little too complicated. We had someone who worked with us who used really big words and he was smart, but it was also hard to understand him. So
Don't you think though too, that's a function of time? Like
Yeah.
if we are in a hurry and we're lucky we opened your email and we're lucky we're giving you 45 seconds, that
Mhm.
it has to be instantly digestible as opposed to, not that we're a 6th grade
Yeah.
intelligent, we just don't have the time. Because a lot of times I'll see stuff and I'll go, I gotta come back and digest this later.
Yeah.
And then I often forget.
yeah,
So
I think
it's
that's,
really not.
I don't think that's I think that's true. Yeah.
I take cues from people I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
in all realms, whether it be news articles or even research. You know, I take cues from them. The use of acronyms, if
Mhm.
they spell that out for me at the beginning, at least I can go back and refer to that. If I
Mhm.
skip through, and I know that somewhere in that beginning part of the
Mhm.
paragraph, they actually spelled out what that acronym means.
Yeah.
But people who just assume that you know what they're gonna talk about and that you have a full context, like,
Mhm.
no, I'm just not even gonna bother with that.
Yeah.
But I try to take cues from really good writers.
Yeah.
And reading, I think, I had a teacher many years ago who said, you know, your writing is going to reflect what you read.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as we mature, we tend to gravitate towards things that might be beyond our initial grade level
Mm-hmm.
because we've matured, grown into what we read now.
Yeah.
But you can't always expect all of your readers to enjoy that level of content.
I think that's
So,
true. I think
Yeah.
that's true. And I think, you know, with like, there's we talk to other marketing teams when we go and we have client meetings with clients. And one of the guys on our team assumes that because they are marketers, they understand every single acronym that data uses or that marketing strategy uses, and they don't. And so just like in here, KPIs, key performance indicators. Well, chances are, if I had just said KPIs, you guys would have been like, I don't know what that is. And the first time I heard it, I didn't know what it was. And so I was like, well, okay, you have to educate even the people you think know. It's always good because people are afraid to ask sometimes if they don't know. So when you're writing, don't be afraid of explaining some things out because you might think people know and they might not know. That's never a bad idea. And then they'll just appreciate that you're like, oh, well, I knew that. I feel smart now. So that's never bad. You can make them feel smart. So that is kind of what we have. Just remember to take your time. I realized driving over the title, this was writing a winning newsletter, and I didn't tell you how to write. And that's because I can't. I can tell you all the tools and all the tricks, but really it's going to come down to you and your business and what you want to say and what you feel like you need to say about your business. And so if there are things that you struggle with trying to figure out, like, well, I don't know what to write, just start writing, even if you don't know, just like start going, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. And then eventually things will start to come, and it might be bad at first. You might think it's bad, but other people it just might be fine. We're our own worst critics. And so I call myself a writer, but I am terrified to write sometimes because I'm like, I don't know. Am I any good? I'm not sure. And so just take that first step. You guys already are brave women because you've started a business or you're trying to help a business grow and continue. That's the hardest step. Writing is just words, and you guys can do that for sure. You just need to have some of the tools. So be realistic. Success is going to take some time. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. There are going to be times where you think this email is not working. I'm just going to give it up. And if you give up, then you're right. It's not going to work, but you just have to stick with it and keep trying. The more regular of a schedule, the better results you'll see. If it's just like an email here and an email there, it's not going to be as effective. And so one of the things Leslie said is when I was starting my business is just do it, like just jump in and start doing it. And so if you can find a sustainable schedule and a sustainable way of doing it, then just dive in. You might not have your template perfect, and that is okay. You might not have your automation up, and that is absolutely fine. Just as long as you're sending something regularly, that's what is going to matter. That's it. So you guys, do you guys have any questions? Let me see if I can open this up so I can see video people as well. Yeah, Melissa.
I'm working on and I really just did that because so many people asked me about why I like it. So I put something up, and first I had it like about e-commerce. So I wrote that more like a personal story. Like, well, maybe I'll make a blog. But so now I have a tab that has two little entries in the blog. But like, what do I do with that? I mean, like, how do I just let it sit there and see if people go to it when on my website, or how do you like get that out there? Because as I was doing it, all these ideas that I could write like 2 and 3 paragraph things for, how do I get that out there? Is there a way to like connect that through Mailchimp? I don't know anything
Yeah.
about blogs.
Yeah, so just about any website builder that you're going to use is going to have a way to set up an automation campaign with your email provider. Platform. A lot of times it will be specific to Mailchimp or Constant Contact, but there should be some way to connect the two. And you can create a template in your email program that every time you publish a blog post, your website will send a little like, hey, there's a new blog post to your email, and it will populate an email and send it to your subscriber list. So there are going to be tutorials on your website that will help you know how to do that. It's different for every one of them. And I found it slightly complicated just because you had to go from your web platform to the email and you had to make them talk to each other. And if you follow the tutorial, it works, but it's hard for me to just like explain how to do it.
There's all kinds of things that it wants me to put.
Oh, for the blog post, it wants you,
In building the website.
oh, so when you are setting up your blog posts or other pages on a website, there will be settings, which is maybe what you're talking about. There will be settings for that specific blog post. And you can put in SEO information and keywords. And a lot of times it will let you set the URL. So it will be like mywebsite.com/this amazing blog post. So you can change this amazing blog post to whatever the title of your blog post is. And if you don't do it, it'll be auto-populated with your title.
I think that's what
Yeah, that might be.
because I remember thinking like, well, I don't know where all that is. I can put it slide, go up there, copy it, paste it.
Yeah,
That seems like weird. So I can just make it whatever I want.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
what it'll show up as.
yep.
Okay.
And if you've already published it, you can still change it.
It's just sitting.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I wouldn't,
You know, do a link, I usually put the link in the comments,
yeah.
talk a little bit about a snippet, I guess, of your blog and the post, and then put the link in the comments.
It's always a good idea to share it in multiple places. Create once, publish often is one of the things they say. So if you create that blog post once, but you can share it in email, you can share it in Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, any number of channels. And you can share it more than once. Just don't share the same blog post sequentially. I struggle with that because I don't have enough content yet. But that's one of the rules they say. Is if you send an email with a blog, don't share the same blog twice in a row, or people might think it's a mistake, or be like, yeah, I already read that. So, any other questions? Any questions from the online people? Looks like we're good so far. Yeah.
So just started sending these letters or what they are. Are we allowed to just send them to our contacts? I mean, because you said something about subscribing. How do we get them to subscribe if they don't subscribe?
There are a lot of email rules right now about when to send, when not to send. On any website that you have, you should have a subscribe field where they can subscribe to your email addresses or to your emails. Anyone who has done that, you absolutely can email to. If you're trying to grow your list, you could send an email and say, hey, I'm building this email list. Please click here to subscribe now. And then they will, if they subscribe, then you can absolutely send to them. You don't want, if you're going to send cold emails, you need to include at the bottom, unsubscribe here. We send cold emails to lists that we purchased, but we have to make sure that at the bottom we say, if you don't wish to receive these emails, please unsubscribe. You need to give them a way to do that. You don't want to send cold emails all the time because you can be flagged for spam a lot easier. But if you're trying to build your list, you can build it with the subscribe at the bottom of your website. You can ask people to sign up through Facebook, Instagram, any social media. And you can also, send that initial email and say, hey, we're building our email list, or maybe not say that, but, say, hey, we're starting emails. Got some great things to share with you. Please sign up. That's a great way to grow your list. Yeah.
That I recently got an email from someone that I had met casually. And they have my business card, they asked for it. And then I got an email from them, and it started out receiving this email because I've either met you in person or some, you know, kind of went through a list of how we may have connected. And I kind of vaguely remembered the name. But then she made it clear that if you didn't want to subscribe or you found it, if you didn't want to continue receiving, and then subscribe to the bottom. If you find the content helpful, even one piece of information, please share it with someone else, at least one person.
Mhm.
And I thought that was really non-invasive.
Mhm.
It wasn't a waste of my time. I
Mhm.
thought the content was good. And I appreciated the opportunity to subscribe to this, you know, it's like she was giving me permission up front as soon as I read it. So I can so to the snippet. So, yeah, and I've never received anything like that before.
Yeah.
You know, so I know my email address is sold. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my personal email address from purchasing and websites and stuff professionally. It's starting to be sold more frequently now. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want my business email address being sold and used for marketing purposes.
Mhm.
Anymore.
Yeah.
But I can't control it, I guess.
No, one thing that people do and have started to do is setting up like an email address just for when they're signing up for mailing lists. Because then that one can get sold all over and they don't care as much as if it's just their personal email address. But yeah, she's just trying to grow her email address without sending spam. And also, you know, it seems pretty personal. And so you're less likely to reject her. It was pretty smart. Yeah. Yeah.
Just to clarify a previous point, if you include a link to a blog post in your email, then it's a bad idea to share that same blog post link like in Facebook the following week or like.
Oh, no, you can share on Facebook or any social media. You can absolutely share it. I meant like, if you're sending emails and you share the blog post in one email, the very next email, maybe don't share that exact same blog post.
Oh, like 2 emails in a row? you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
yeah,
clarification.
yeah, absolutely. And on social media, you'll see, it's really hard to control when people are going to see what they see based on how people are even interacting with your original post. If people are interacting with your original Facebook post quite a bit, it's more likely to be seen. So if you share that blog post and people are interacting with that Facebook post, and then you share that blog post again, and people maybe aren't interacting with that one as much, it might not get, they might end up just being seen right after each other anyway. It just is the algorithm of Facebook and social media. So
Yeah.
you can't control that one as much, but you can on social media share, you know, as much as you can in the hopes it gets seen a little bit more. Yeah.
And one thing too, my question about LinkedIn. So you put your blog on your website, but then it's also good to put the, you know, on social media. If there's that private article
Mhm.
on LinkedIn, what do you suggest? Should we copy what we have on our website blog, and put it as private article, or do you just share the link on LinkedIn?
It depends on the content of the blog post. So if it is a blog post that is for the LinkedIn audience, you could absolutely copy it from your website and do a LinkedIn post like that. But make sure at the bottom, you say this was originally published and include that, your URL from your actual website, because there are different ways that search engines work. And if Google sees duplicate content, you might get dinged, even if one is on LinkedIn. It's just extra safe because you never know how algorithms and Google is going to change things, just to put like, this was originally published here. And it'll give your original site some additional credibility if people follow it back as well.
It's write an article. So when you go to post on LinkedIn, you have comment, I can't remember, but there's like 3 little things that you can do.
Mhm.
And one of them is write an article. And I always wonder, because we tend, I don't on LinkedIn, we'll put it on our website, on the NIC website, but then I always just copy it and put it on my write article.
Yeah. Some people will put like part of their blog post in LinkedIn and then say to read more, click here. And then it'll make them go to the website. So it builds their website's authority. It's another thing people do.
I don't like that.
Yeah. And then you're not giving it all away on LinkedIn and you can build some authority with your website. And it's a little, I suppose it's a little safer in some ways, just in terms of making sure your traffic always goes back to your website.
I mean, like 3 people read them on LinkedIn, so.
Well-
I get really excited.
You are LinkedIn famous.
I was gonna ask, are blogs even read? I mean, are people reading blogs or are they more in the video or what is currently the
Yes. Video is not going anywhere, and just looking at YouTube stats, like it's one of the biggest search engines, and it's videos. And so if you're comfortable with video, that's never going to be a bad thing. I'm not super comfortable with video, so it's a struggle for me to do video, but I'm more comfortable writing. And so it's whatever, if you can do video, by all means, do that video. But people do read blogs, especially if there's tips and if it's going to help them with something, they will read it.
But newsletter versus blog. I mean, you have a greater chance of someone actually reading your newsletter than getting them to go to your website and read your blog, right?
Well, a lot of times they're not going to find your blog unless they read your newsletter or they see it on social media. And so a newsletter is a really good way of sharing a bunch of different bits of information instead of just one thing. Whereas your blog is going to be pretty topical on maybe one thing or a subject, and your newsletter is going to be like, here are all the things I've done that are awesome that you need to know.
And can you share your newsletter?
Yes, if you, so we have ours in Mailchimp, and at the bottom, it'll say to view this email in your browser, click here. And so you can click that, it opens it in whatever your web browser is, and then there'll be a URL, and you can copy that and you can share that on social.
Say that
lot.
again. So,
So in your email,
right.
like Mailchimp at the bottom had, now I don't know, this is something I don't know. I don't know if our team, when they built the email, they added that at the bottom, or if Mailchimp did it automatically. So you might want to check. But at the bottom, it'll say to view this email in your browser, click here.
Oh,
And there'll be a URL there. A lot of emails that you'll get will have that. It's rare that they don't. And so you can open it in your browser, and then that will let you copy the URL and share it on social media. In fact, there have been emails I've gotten where I wanted to share it with someone and I knew they didn't ever read their email, but they read their text. And so I would open it in my browser, copy the email link, and then send it via text. And then they actually read the email.
I know it's so shocking to me, like people who only message on Instagram.
Yeah.
I didn't read the blog on this. Well, thank you so very much.
No
And
problem.
this has been wonderful.
I hope it was helpful.
Always fun.
Well, I hope it was helpful. Thank you guys so much for coming and listening online.
Yes, thank you all to everyone who attended. It's been so nice to have people here in person, but I am also a big fan of being able to attend virtually. So it makes me happy. Thank you for being able to do both.
Oh, I don't know if I did, but I tried.
I always think of those teachers, like have you guys seen those posts when it was COVID and teachers were going back, and they're like, oh, but I love those options. So thank you all very much. If you have not met with us before,
please fill out the piece of paper that's in front of you. It's just going to ask for some contact information that we will not sell. And, and if you check the box to use your photos at these, that's also very helpful. And so anyone in line, if you have not met with us before, I will email you a link just to make sure that we can capture you. This is the way to tell our funders that we work with real human beings. So thank you all so much. And June 4th, we are doing a financial wellness workshop. It's on a Saturday morning. So if anyone would like to attend, please come. All right. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you soon.